what do you know, ladies and gentlemen? We have returned to the Soulcast. And you've been around for a good minute. We were talking about Nito Torpedo,
Yeah, man.
and that go around. Is there anybody that you've played with that you're not playing with anymore that you love to play with, like you miss playing with them, that particular musician, because you played with so many musicians? I have a couple of them myself. But.
Yeah, well,
And how do you feel about switching over to the guitar? I mean, that's got to be kind of tricky, right?
Yeah, oh man, you're not kidding. I'll tackle the first question first. The first name that comes to mind is David Newhall. After I left Nito Torpedo, the drum seat for a band called Dead of Nature got vacated, and Dave was in that band. And Dave, all those guys were a little bit older than me, but I guess they saw and liked what I was doing in Nito, and asked me to come and fill in. And he and I got really close in a very short period of time, because the band was based out of Athens, and he and I both lived in Augusta. So we commuted to practices together and shows a couple times a week, and so spent a lot of time up close and personal, and I love that guy to death. I love him like a brother. So he would be one that I miss playing with dearly. When I've had the opportunity, I've asked him to come, back to me and play in various things, and we've done it a couple of times. After Dead of Nature kind of split up a little, it was kind of like a tree splitting. Mark Tompkins went off to Atlanta, and first he came back here from Athens and formed 100 Year Sun, and Newhall and I went with the principal singer in Dead of Nature to form Smile, which we had a good run with that for a while too.
I remember both those bands.
And then when things went wrong with Smile, as they did very abruptly, circumstances completely beyond Dave and our control, we formed Mary Jane Jones, which is probably about the closest I've ever gotten to like really kind of breaking through to the other side in the industry. And then for a long time I didn't play with Dave, and then when we were putting 48 Volt together, I got the chance to ask him back, and I really cherished that time. He's to my way of thinking, one of the weirdest human beings on the planet, and his bass playing shows it. And so it's just always, for me as a drummer, it's almost without fail that I form really tight relationships as a drummer with the bass player. The rhythm section.
Oh
unite,
yeah, absolutely.
So, but anyway, so yeah, Dave Newhall is one that I always, I look back on the times I played with him very fondly.
Well, his ears is burning right about now, peoples.
They ought to be. I started to go see him last night. He was tending bar at the Against Me show. My pocketbook wouldn't allow it. But,
yeah. True that.
But as far as the switching to guitar thing, I think everything happens for a reason. And I had been one of the first things I did after finding out that my then soon-to-be wife had a little background in stringed instruments was I went out and bought her a guitar. And then almost every gift-giving occasion, I bought her a guitar or a bass. And so they're laying around, and
right.
And I became sort of keenly more and more interested in songwriting, and started picking up the guitar a little bit here, a little bit there. I'm still just really fucking terrible at it. For me initially, for sure, it was more about using it as a tool to communicate, to write. Right. it was, I don't know, the whole thing kind of got forced on me in a way. As this was, God, when was this last year? Last year, I went to the musicians swap meet at Sky City, and Dave Morgan from the Hollers was selling a pair of fucking floor monitors for $20 a piece, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta have those. All right,
Right.
perfect.
Yeah.
And while I was loading those damn things out, man, I felt something snap, and you see that scar there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, what happened was my biceps I just was carelessly throwing them into the back of my pickup, and ruptured a biceps tendon.
Ow.
It was crucial, dude. I immediately went into shock.
Holy
and
shit.
And I was like, oh God, I have seriously fucked up now. And pouring sweat, and it was bad.
Yeah, it sounds painful.
Yeah. Well, it was something that had to be surgically repaired immediately, or I would never regain strength in my arm.
Holy shit.
So yeah. So when they open up your arm and then they put a screw into your radius, and then go up there and fish out that tendon, where it's retracted into the muscle, and pull it down and tie it to the fucking screw, then you can't play drums for a while.
Holy shit. Damn.
So during that time, I'm like, well, I got to do, I
mean, it had to take forever to freaking heal, man. How long did it take?
It wasn't as bad as all that. They told me that I couldn't play for 6 weeks. So it wasn't like tearing an ACL or something like that. But
6 weeks.
But the end of 2 weeks, I'm cabin fever is all get out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, I gotta do something.
It's like, I'm out of here, bitches.
And so I rolled up in this studio right here where we sit, man, and recorded a song that I'd written. And I'd written other things I was in Jessup Dolly at the time. I'd written other things for Jessup Dolly, where I wasn't really driving the car on the instrumentation, just come up with a vocal melody and lyrics and stuff like that, or whatever. Uh-huh. But I'm like, well, this feels good. I like doing this. And so, things kind of grew out of that, so it's one of those things though, and I won't lie, man, I'm not a very good, I couldn't play a fucking F chord to save my life, but, I'm not a good guitar player, but when use the tools that you got. So at first it was a lot of two note, I'm depressing 2 strings at a time, wherever, to make, these fucking, these half-ass chords. But, if you got an ear, you can make it work. Mm-hmm. And I think it's come along nicely.
So you've never really written any songs before this?
No, I had written songs going way back to the shit. I wrote one of the more popular songs for Nito Torpedo was Preacher's Daughter. I wrote that in high school.
Right.
But less, yeah, here's the thing, man. As a drummer, that's not where you're at. That's not where your focus is.
Yeah, right.
My focus was, but the whole time, whether I realized it or not, I was sort of gathering some tools. You learn about songcraft. You can't help it. You're arranging tunes. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, having a little bit of an ear, I was always the guy singing harmonies.
Yeah.
So so you can you start putting those together, and then you add a melodic element, the guitar, and then bing bang boom.
It's a satisfying thing for me writing songs. I really love it. Now let me ask you about this. I know you have a lot of opinions where this is concerned, as well as I do.
Sure.
But I love our music scene, and I'm proud of it. Mm-hmm. And but you're right, like you were saying, from like the mid '70s into like the late '80s. It was impossible to find anybody that wasn't doing covers, mm-hmm. and that was all they were doing. Mm-hmm. And it drove me crazy. And then we had this huge rash of just like power chord, screamo things and all that crap came along. And then, finally now we have people that I would consider See, I'm kind of, this might be pretentious of me, but I believe that musicianship is something that I you gotta be doing something different for me to look up, and then something that means something, and there's a lot of there for years there was a lot of just shit, pure shit, and we've got a lot of good musicians in the scene right now. um, how do you feel about the way things are going? I mean, do you feel like things are going good for the scene and people are starting to come together a little bit more? Because I know a lot of people experience this click thing, among camps, but I don't, because of just my personality, I guess, and who I am. But so I'm out of the loop. I don't know who's bad mouthing who or any of that stuff. But I think in my experience, it's been more of everybody supporting everybody else. And are you feeling that way more these days, or now that we're getting older?
I do, I do, well, which I always did. Stoney and I, did the podcast thing for a while.
Yeah, yeah. How long did y'all do that for?
We did it for, I think, 2.5, 3 years, something like that. And it was that was a cool thing to do, because people did it, were paying attention, and it helped promote. I fully believe that it helped promote scene unity.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember doing it. It was a lot of fun. I had fun doing it.
Yeah,
I talked in a Cockney accent.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember that. That was a good show. That was one of the better ones. That show, and then my favorite show is when we had Keith Jenkins come in and talk about James Brown on the anniversary of his birthday. And that was like, that one ran so fucking over, because he had
how you gonna stop
stories.
talking? I mean, it was like, I got another question. Oh yeah, I got another question.
But I'm shit, man. I just let him drive the car, because
why not?
He had so much. It was, I just would interject here and there. That was good. As far as scene unity, I think, all right, here's like my bottom line assessment. The click thing, I believe that's real. Because I was like, for the longest time, was having been around here forever. I was kind of on the good side, the downtown, whatever it is. I'm not, not naming names or anything, but then I had a phone call from these cats, who were from the other side,
Right. Uh-huh.
And I wasn't doing anything at the time, and was looking for a new project, and it's what would eventually become American Skin. And I went over,
Right.
And I'm not kidding you. It got hard. It was hard getting gigs for a while. But what you have to do is either do like you do, which is be friendly to everyone, or you got to make music so good that they can't
say anything,
ignore you.
Right.
They can't deny you.
Yeah.
All right. So, and that's kind of the way that shook out. So I do think it exists. I also think that I'm really, really encouraged by what's the kind of the sort of trendy stuff I was referring to earlier, where all the punk rockers are picking up fucking banjos and shit right now.
Yeah.
It's actually, what I think? I think what a lot of those folks are doing right now is, like I said earlier, is a little bit disingenuous. But you know what? It's going to bear fruit one day, because they're going to grow. They can't help but grow an appreciation for roots music.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I swear, I firmly believe that in this day of Clear Channel and Cumulus and all that shit, cramming these auto-tuned fucking automaton talentless pieces of shit down our throats, that there's a little bit of a rebellion going on, and I think eventually it'll come back to the real stuff.
It definitely will. It all goes in cycles. I'm going to take another quick break, and we'll be right back.